What's up, guys? SeaOtterGamer here, back with more Realm of the Mad God Exalt. And man, this week has been kind of a roller coaster of emotion for me. Some really good stuff happened, which we'll talk about in a later video. And some not so good stuff happened, which we will talk about today. Sorry, not to be a downer, but it is something that I feel like, mistakes were made. And I feel like it's something that hopefully you guys can learn from. I'm going to tell you kind of what I have learned from those mistakes as well. So a few of you may have noticed I haven't really been on Discord or Twitter or really just playing very much lately. Ever since Thursday, pretty much, I've been taking a bit of a break, right? And justly so, I would say. So Thursday night we were streaming. What were we streaming? It wasn't Hades. Oh no, no, no! It was the new season 4 of Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, right? And so I was streaming, and my wife told me to come here really quick. So I set it to BRB. And then for those of you who were in the stream, my stream just ended abruptly. And I apologize for that. I didn't really have time to kind of tell you what happened. And so that is what this video here is partially for as well. So Thursday night, like I said, I was streaming some Call of Duty Warzone with some good friends like GamerDad and Cluex and all of them. And apparently, when my kids were out playing right before they came in, they did not close the garage door, which, they're kids. It's something that happens. Usually they're pretty good about that. But in this specific instance, the garage door did not get closed. And my wife heard beeping outside, which ended up being our refrigerator open, which I'll get into in a second here. And long story short, our garage was burglarized. Somebody was in our garage poking through our cars. This happened at like about 9:51 at night. I have a neighbor with a Ring doorbell, so he was able to actually pull up pictures and see kind of what was going on. Actually, he noticed the car, but the car apparently stopped in front of our house and turned off. So he's like, well, no one doing shady stuff would just turn their car off like that. So it's probably nothing, right? But anyways, so here's what I have gathered happened. My kids left the garage door open, as stated previously. Somebody was driving like a silver mini SUV, came and drove by our house 3 times, which is what alerted our neighbor because he saw the flash of the light in his window. And he's like, what is going on out there? Right. And so he looked out. He saw them then stop in front of our house and turned their car off. In which case he thought, okay, maybe it's somebody just, coming over or something. Right. They proceeded to enter in through our garage. They broke into my car and they broke into my wife's car, and they also raided our fridge. So interestingly enough, so for those who don't know, I drive a Tesla Model 3, right? And really, the only way to get into my car is if you have your phone as your key, right? My phone is my key to my car, or if you have a key card or a key fob, right? Those are the 3 things you can use to get into the car. And so I honestly, I don't really know how he got into my car. I have some theories though. There's a few different things that it could be. One is that maybe they had some sort of RFID spoofer type thing that they could use to get into my car, because my car was definitely locked, right? My car's always locked at home. And so we'll get into some of the things that I changed right here in a minute. But my car was definitely locked. Okay. So there's one thing that they could use to get in, and which was my wife's phone, which she left outside, which had my key enabled on it. So they could have used her phone to get in. So that is one possibility. I don't think that's a likely possibility. And the reason why is because they didn't take her phone, first off. Maybe you're saying, okay, well, maybe they didn't want to get tracked. A lot of people have trackers on their phone now, so that could definitely be a thing. Maybe that's why. Let's see, what are we at? We need 11 speed. Yeah, we'll go in here. We'll do some speed. Why not? So that's one possible explanation. The issue with that explanation is they did not take her phone, right? And more so than that, her phone is also her wallet, which had her uh what I'm talking about, credit cards and all of that kind of stuff in it. So they didn't take any of that. So I'm like, well, did they didn't seem to move the phone. It was sitting back on the chair outside, far away from where they were. So like, did they use her phone to get into my car and then run back and place it back where it was? That doesn't seem very likely. They would have just left it in a car or something, right? So that was the first weird thing that happened. All right. I was looking at my map there. I wasn't paying attention. So the second weird thing, so like, what if like, how did they get into the car? Right, it was definitely locked. I didn't see any forced entry on it, which there's a pretty tight seal around it. I feel like you would have seen something, but my doors were open. My wife's doors were open. Her car was, I think, unlocked. So that's how they definitely got into her car, right? And so what did they take? They took my prescription sunglasses, which I had just gotten, and I'd waited basically 2 years to get, because that's how long I have to wait between getting new glasses to get new frames for my visual what's the word I'm looking for? Insurance, right? So I'm gonna get those replaced. I mean, it's gonna be expensive because RX sunglasses and glasses are not cheap, right? We're talking a few $100 for the frames, a few $100 for the lenses, right? Especially if you get them polarized and all that kind of stuff, which I usually do. I usually spend a little bit extra on them because I know I'm gonna be using them for a while, at least hopefully. I guess not in this case, but either way, they took my prescription sunglasses, which I used to drive. They also took the case and the cleaning cloth for them, right? They took the case for my Oakleys, which are also my old prescription sunglasses, but they didn't take the Oakleys. So they just took the case, right? And they took the badge to get into my work, which I already reported and they already deactivated. So that's what they took from my car, as far as I can tell. From my wife's car, they took... Oh, one more thing. They took my wife's sunglasses, which were just little, the inexpensive $10 ones you get from Target. They weren't a significant amount. So congrats, you got a $10 pair of sunglasses, right? From my wife's car, they took the case to her nice sunglasses, which are, they're decently nice sunglasses. She doesn't have any eye issues like I do, so she doesn't have to have RX sunglasses or glasses, right? They don't have to be prescription. So hers weren't as expensive, but they were still a nice pair of sunglasses. They only took the case. Her sunglasses were thankfully inside, so they didn't get those, which is a good thing because that was a present that I got from her for her. So they would have been a lot harder to replace. Plus, she's very, very picky about her sunglasses, so finding ones that she likes is very difficult. So I'm glad that at least those didn't get taken. So they took, in total, 3 pairs of sunglass cases and 2 pairs of sunglasses, one of which was prescription and one of which was just a cheap one. And then my badge for my work, right? As far as I can tell, that's what they took. They didn't take any personal identification type stuff. Sometimes they'll take bills or that kind of stuff to get stuff off of them. And usually these people are in and out pretty quick. It's a crime of opportunity. They don't want you catching them, right? And by them, I mean 2 people, because apparently, looking at the video, right, there was a second car that came later and also circled like the first car did and kind of like kept watch. So there was at least 2 people in on this and 2 cars, which is interesting. I'm guessing kids, because they only took... what? No, I don't need that. Okay. They only took like sunglasses and that kind of stuff. They didn't really take anything, that expensive, or like stuff that you could use to get more money from, like credit cards, that kind of stuff. They didn't take any of that. So my guess is, kids or something, right? They raided our fridge. I forgot about that. So my wife was alerted because the fridge, when you leave it open after 5 minutes, starts beeping. So we went out there probably right after they left, right? Most likely right after they left is when we went there. I cleared the garage. I cleared our front and backyard, which maybe we'll talk about later. I don't know. We'll see how much time we have. Let's not die here. I'm not paying as much attention as I should be, apparently. I'm too wrapped up into my story. I'm still kind of pissed off about it. But you know what? We learned, right? We learned a lot of things, which I'll get into here in a second. So what did they take from our fridge? They didn't take any beer. They didn't take any pop. They didn't take really much of anything. They took, drum roll please. What do you guys think? Before I say it, what is the most ridiculous, stupid thing that you can think of for someone to take from a fridge? Right. All right. You got your comment down below? All right. Here is what they took from our fridge. A pack of strawberries. They took some sunglasses and cases and a pack of strawberries from us. So that is what we lost. All in all, not too bad. Could be a lot worse, right? Nobody was hurt. Okay, so let's get into that. Stuff that we learned, right? One, usually we're pretty good about checking to see if, all of our doors are locked and that kind of stuff when we go to bed. We did not check if they were all locked and stuff when the kids came in. So definitely going to be checking that more. My garage door is one of the ones that you can hook up to your Wi-Fi system and check on your phone. But since we bought the house not too long ago, I haven't really done that yet. So I'm going to be setting that up so I can check it if I need to or if I want to, or just go outside and check, right? Another thing is we always keep the door to the garage from our house, the one that goes into the garage from our house, locked. It's usually always locked. This case, it wasn't. So they were in our garage. They could have walked right into our house because that was not locked, which is not good for obvious reasons. Thankfully, they were there to just steal stuff and not to do any actual damage, right? So that is the other thing that I learned. The next thing that I learned is something that I don't really talk about very much because it's very polarizing. I don't like to talk about this kind of stuff on stream or just with people in general, right? But we do have I'm not even gonna say it. I did learn that I should keep a flashlight around because when I was told that there was somebody potentially in our garage, it took me a while to find one, and the one I found was kind of not very good / out of batteries, and it just wasn't a good one. So I'm gonna have to buy a really nice high lumen flashlight, one really bright that you can blind people with, first off, because that's a great defense tactic in the dark. Somebody's running at you, or if they're drawing a gun at you, or if they look like they're gonna attack you or something, or they have a knife and it's dark out, blind them with a really, really bright flashlight, right? That'll at least give you some time to get away or whatever you need to do, right? So I'm gonna have to buy a nicer flashlight and keep it, just for emergencies. Make sure that it's not being used for other stuff where it could be left somewhere, which is what happened with the other ones. They were being used for home improvement projects or the like, right? And something that we can just use for our safety, basically, or to check to see if somebody's in the backyard or whatnot, that kind of flashlight. So definitely gonna buy one of those, right? What else did we learn? Lock up your car. Oh, here's a good one that I learned, right? My car has a recording setting on it where, first of all, my car has 8 cameras on the outside and 1 on the inside, right? There's 3 in the front, 2 on the right side and 2 on the left side, 1 pointing forward, one pointing back. And there's also, let's see, is this still active? It is. Can I beat this by myself / with this one guy? Probably not. And then one in the rear, right? And that is used for the self-driving type capabilities, and it's also used for your security system. So if you have someone break into your car, or if you are driving and somebody cuts you off, or if they hit you, or any of that type of stuff, it will record 4 of those cameras, 2, one on each side, one in the front, one in the back, right? And you can review that tape to see what happened. Now, there is a setting for that to not record at home, because you're like, well, if I'm at home, maybe my kids are going to be in and out of the garage a lot, and you'll see them a lot, and it'll kind of take up a lot of space on the SSD or the hard drive or whatever you have, right? So a lot of people won't enable it at home. I re-enabled it at home because they were so close. Obviously, they opened the doors that I could have gotten a really, really good view of them. And we might have been able to identify who it was based off of that recording, which I didn't have because it wasn't recording. So now it is just always recording. So that's the first thing. All right. Next thing is that I need to figure out how they got in my car. I'm not entirely sure about that still. It is possible they used my wife's phone, right? But I still don't think that that's likely. I just don't. I just don't think that that's what happened there. So I need to figure out what happened there as well. We ordered a very nice camera system for our home. We've been wanting to do it for a while, but we've been kind of not thinking about it, and they're kind of expensive, and it was one of those like, well, eventually, oh, we're gonna not die there, thank you. Like, eventually maybe we'll need it. That's something you should have before you need it, right? That would have been a smart thing to have when we moved in, and not after we need it. So we bought a kit. I'm not going to tell you all the capabilities or where we're going to do it for obvious reasons, but now we're going to have a fairly nice and honestly kind of expensive camera setup for our home to record basically everything around it. Let's not kill that cube. Thank you. So things we've learned: definitely make sure that doors and stuff are locked and or closed whenever you come in, right? Which, kids will be kids. It happens, and it's happened before. And a lot of our neighbors will keep their garage doors open and stuff during the day, and not necessarily at night, but sometimes. And we just got unlucky that it was that day that they were out and about, I think, or maybe it's ramping up more. I'm not entirely sure. So, but definitely something that we need to definitely check, right? Have any sort of self-defense / a light, that kind of stuff, ready, and or loaded up with batteries, or ready for you to use, right, at a moment's notice, because they could be in your house and surprise you, and you would have to deal with that very, very quickly, right? And I don't want to be all doom and gloom on that, obviously, but it's just something that, these are just takeaways that I've learned, right? Probably learn how to clear out your house / garage and other stuff better. So for those who don't know what clearing is where you check to see if there's people hanging out in the bush in front of your house, that kind of stuff, who are, waiting to ambush you or trying to break into your house, and they heard you, so they hid, that kind of stuff. You don't want people to attack you, so learn how to clear stuff out safely and effectively, right? Don't leave valuables in your car. Take them inside, lock them up, that kind of stuff. As far as I've been able to find, they were not able to get into my glove box, which is kind of a difficult thing to do in a Tesla if you don't have a key, because you have to have access to the actual car, right? Other things I learned: have stuff recording at all time, be it my car or the house or whatever, right? Have something that you can hopefully have to try and identify people if they are breaking in, before they are breaking in, or after they are breaking in. We do have the neighbor who had the Ring. Unfortunately, the way that those a lot of times are set up is they record a still image every 30 minutes, or sorry, not 30 minutes, that would be awful, 30 seconds or so. And so if what actually happened with that one is you could see the car in a way, but the when they were coming around, the headlights were always pointing basically towards our neighbor's house, and so you weren't able to actually see basically anything but the headlights because it was dark, right? They have it set up to where if somebody's in their yard, then it'll record constantly, but if not, then it's a way to save this space. So it's understandable, right? But definitely we are taking a lot of steps and precautions to not have that happen again. And or if it does happen again, that we are ready for people to be unannounced and uninvited in our home slash garage slash car slash whatever. So basically this is one of the things. I mean, it's kind of gross, but we'll take it for now, I suppose. It's one of those things that, like, I've always thought that I was more prepared for, and then it happened. You know what I mean? Like, I could definitely have been more prepared. We are definitely more prepared now than we were. And maybe that's the blessing in disguise. We lost, I don't know, I'm going to say a few $100s worth of stuff just because prescription sunglasses are so expensive, right? The other ones were just cheap, and who cares about the cases? We don't really use them anyways, right? But here's the takeaway for me. If it cost us a few $100s and maybe a bit of pride to learn the lessons that we could use for later to not be a target and or to deal with what happens if we are a target better, that's a win in my book, right? And you can say, yeah, it sucks to get burgled. It sucks to have people unannounced in your house and stuff. I consider garage part of your house, right? You feel kind of gross afterwards and violated and that kind of stuff, which is why I haven't really recorded too much. I did stream yesterday, right? Which went pretty well. We'll talk about that in another video here coming up soon. Exciting stuff for that. But at the same time, it was minimal damage, no harm really. They didn't break our cars or anything, so there wasn't a lot of damage done to the vehicles themselves, thankfully. Slash no damage really, just stuff got rifled through. And we learned a valuable lesson, and it only cost us a few $100, which to some people that's definitely a lot of money. I'm not saying that like a few $100 isn't a lot. To a lot of people, that's being able to provide for your family, the make or break for having a home over your head or groceries and stuff for your kids. Like, that's definitely a large sum of money, right? But it could have been a lot worse. Nobody in our house was harmed, and so it could have just been a lot worse, right? I don't think I have to really explain that more, right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So we are definitely more prepared now. We will be more prepared here in a little bit when the cameras come in and when other items we have bought have come in. And I'm setting up all of the security stuff that we already owned, basically, that we didn't actually set up because we're like, it's the, I'm sure it would never happen to us type of thing. We don't live in a bad neighborhood, I would say. We don't live in like a gated, really nice community, right? I'm assuming that actually, if I think about it, the type of neighborhood we live in would actually be the most targeted, because if you live in a lower income neighborhood, I would say, I wouldn't say bad neighborhood necessarily, then maybe there's not as much stuff to steal. If you live in a gated slash higher end community that's harder to get into, then it's harder to get into. But if you live in a medium. I don't want to say middle class. That's not really the word I'm looking for. Maybe you have slightly nicer stuff, but not as much security. Actually, that makes a lot of sense now that I think about it with my brain meat. But either way, that is my story. I'm going to be ramping up streams and recordings here a little bit more now that I'm kind of over that stuff for the most part. And hopefully, I didn't really want to talk about this. It's kind of embarrassing, right? But I did because hopefully it helps one of you guys out. And if one of you guys can learn from my mistake and prevent this from happening to you, which I don't know how you would, check, it, then it's a huge win in my book, right? So that's really why I wanted to talk about it. And at least hopefully it made for an interesting story, right? So that was the bad part of my week that happened this week. I do have a good part of my week, which we'll talk about here in an upcoming video. Hopefully the next one, maybe the next one. Or maybe you'll just have to check what happened in the Discord or on my Twitter because it's already been announced there. But either way, I'm going to leave it here. We've been recording for nigh on 25, 26 minutes right here. So I hope you guys learned something. I know I sure did. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you in the next episode. First one done. I have like 20 health and a dream. Nope. Watch Up. The movie Up about the guy with the balloons in the house. It's a good movie for sure.